Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Lindsay Talks a Lot. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books I read this month, which is a whopping 7. But they were pretty hefty, and all in all I pretty much enjoyed all of them, so it was a successful month for me. I'm going to start off by talking about House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. I actually read this on audio, which I normally don't do. I'm kind of picky about narrators and audiobooks in general, but when I wanted to read this, I had a lot of things I had to do around the house. I thought I could listen while I got things done, and I really enjoyed the audiobook. It flew by. It was kind of a long one, but it was totally worth it. So this book centers around our main character, Linus. He is a social worker for magical children. His life starts out really boring and depressing. It's very dark and gloomy, and he gets assigned to go visit an orphanage for really dangerous magical children. In this world, they have children that have some kind of special abilities, or they have some kind of fantastical lineage, and he gets sent to this orphanage that has 6 what they consider very dangerous children. Like, for example, one of them is the son of the devil. So his job is to go check out this orphanage, see whether or not it's safe, and whether or not it can keep running or it needs to be shut down. When he first gets there, he's really scared of the kids. He is very withdrawn because he wants to make sure his reports are unbiased. But throughout the story, you get to see him really connect with the kids, also connect with the people that are caring for them. And I just found it so fun and charming. The kids in here are just so funny, and they're so cute. They're just like kids, you know. Even though that they're dangerous or they have some kind of like special powers, they're still kids, and they still have the same feelings and emotions as humans. And also in this world, like, regular people don't want to adopt these kids, so most of the time they end up staying in orphanages until they're full-grown adults. But anyway, so he spends a month on this island in this orphanage with these kids, and you really get to see them grow and connect and bond, and it was just so sweet and special. I did predict the twist that happened in this book, but all in all, the ending was really sweet. It was just really special and heartwarming, and it was a 5-star read for me. I would totally recommend this. If you need something to maybe get you out of a reading slump or to just make you feel warm and whole again. It was a good one. Next on my list is Pachinko by Min-Jin Lee. It's a Korean family saga that begins in the early 1900s and stretches out to like the 1960s, I believe. It starts out with our main character, Sunja. She's born to a poor family in Korea, and we see her grow up and start a family of her own. And we see the internal struggles that she and the other characters face individually and as a family, and as well as the external struggles that they face, having to live through the world wars and to deal with being immigrants in Japan. It's really an eye-opening story. The author, in her acknowledgement, says that she's written this over a period of like 30 years. She even lived in Tokyo for a small amount of time, and she got to interview Korean individuals living in Japan, and she said she learned a lot about that. It's a really tragic and heartbreaking story at times, but it's so beautiful. It's so well written. You get to know these characters so intimately, and you get to understand what drives them, and it's just really eye-opening to even though these are fictional characters, it's based on things that actually truly happened in this time period, and it's just really tragic to think that people had to live this way and sacrifice, and it's just a masterpiece. It's something I could never imagine writing like myself. And Sunja is just a star of the show. Everything that she goes through, everything that she sacrifices for her family, it's just unbelievable. And It's a long book. It did take me a while to get through. There are some times where I just had to stop reading and take a break because some of the things they go through is just unbelievable. But it was such a good read. Like, this has to be one of my top books ever. And I also believe it was turned into a TV series, which I've heard is really good. I think it's on Apple TV, but I would totally recommend this. Next on my list, Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I probably don't even need to go over the plot of this. This book has been hyped for like years and years at this point. And call me a poser, but I really liked this book. It centers our two main characters, Achilles and Patroclus, and it focuses on them like meeting as boys and growing up together. I don't really know a whole lot about Greek mythology, but I did look into this, and it seems like at its basic plot, it follows the story of Achilles pretty accurately. Of course, she weaves a lot more detail into the story. But Madeline Miller just has this really special gift of like stretching out time. I mean, it's a long book. It's not the longest I've ever read, but the way she picks these intimate moments and the depth and description that she uses in her stories just really makes it work, and it really makes the story feel like it's going on for a lifetime, for a long stretch of years, without being like boring or repetitive. I actually listened to this on audio, and it was narrated by Fraser Douglas, and I actually really enjoyed his telling of the story. He did really good with his voice acting. But it's just, she just like, I don't know, she just has a way with words. She knows how to make something like beautiful and just transports you to wherever these characters are at in their lives. I also read Circe by her. I enjoyed Circe more than this personally because towards the end, I just didn't agree with some of the choices that the characters made. There ended up being like some kind of resolution, but it just wasn't as satisfying as I was hoping for, and maybe that's because she wanted to stay true to the story of Achilles, but it just seemed like disappointing after everything the characters went through together. All in all, I would totally recommend this book. It was very enjoyable. Madeline Miller, she knows what she's doing. Next up, I have Dig by A.S. King. I actually found out about this book from Chandler Ainsley. She does YouTube videos. And she talks about A.S. King a decent amount, and she really liked this, so I decided to pick it up. I found it at a secondhand store, and I thought, why not? The story itself doesn't really match, like with the way it's written, doesn't really match with the blurb on here. The story itself feels a lot more vague compared to the description on the back of the book. It is about there are 5 different narrators in this book. They're cousins, but you don't really find out the details of their relationships or their connections until the very end of the book. It starts out with our first narrator, the Shoveler. All of the narrators go by nicknames until the end of the book. And he's just moved to a new town with his mom. They move around a lot. He's lived in many different cities. He's always like the new kid trying to fit in. He doesn't know a lot about his family history. He doesn't know who his dad is. And he feels some resentment toward his mom because he feels like she's running away from something and she doesn't share that with him. And as he spends more time in this town, he starts to get to know the people in it. He starts to learn a little bit more about his history and his family. And it slowly starts to weave in the other narrators in the story. I thought it was a unique read. I did enjoy reading from their perspectives. Even though they were all teenagers, it didn't feel immature or kind of like corny to read. It felt very genuine. I would have liked to see more depth with everything. I would have liked to see the connection between all the family members a little bit more. I would have liked to know the narrators a little bit more. So for me, this is a 4-star read. But all in all, it was unique. It was different. It was a light read. it was interesting and I would recommend it. On my next review is No Second Chance by Harlan Coben. I'm really starting to enjoy Harlan Coben. I've read just a few of his books, but I think I'm going to start looking into his backlist and reading more because each book that I pick up I seem to like more than the last. This one focuses on our main character, Dr. Mark Seidman. He wakes up in the very beginning of the book in the hospital to learn that his wife is dead and his baby daughter is missing. So he spends basically the whole book trying to find out what happened, trying to find his daughter. It was a very fast-paced, very interesting read. I got through this in like 2 days. And the last third of the book is like all reveals. Like he just keeps revealing. And once you think you figured it out, he just opens up another can of worms and it just keeps going deeper and deeper. And like that last third of the book, I was like, what the heck? I just kept reading, wanting to know what was going to happen. I will say the very final reveal was disappointing. I didn't feel like it was realistic and it just kind of left me feeling like icky and wrong. So that's kind of bumped that from a 5 to a 4 to me. But all in all, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fast-paced, it was entertaining, and I would recommend it for sure. The last 2 books that I have, I don't have physical copies for because I rented them through my library. So I'll just put a little picture of it. The first is The Layover. And I was actually going to use this as part of a reading vlog for a cruise that I was going on. But it ended up being a total fail because I thought I was just going to be reading on a lounge chair for like 6 days straight, and this ended up being the only book that I read. So I'll just add it on here instead. So this is a romance following our 2 characters, Ava and Jack. They're flight attendants. Ava's recently been engaged and she's decided to quit her job as a flight attendant so she can dedicate more time to her relationship. On this final flight, she discovers that she's going to be going with Jack, and she's so pissed about it because she cannot stand him. She doesn't like him. She thinks he's a slime ball, and we finally find out like why she doesn't like him, and they're able to mend the conflict. And then like halfway through the story, Ava realizes that she actually doesn't want to quit her job as a flight attendant and she's hoping that she can still make her relationship work, but her fiance doesn't seem to agree, and they break up. So you know, she starts to develop her relationship with Jack a little bit more. It wasn't a bad book, but I just found Ava to be so annoying. I did not like her character. I don't know what Jack saw in her. Jack was very charming. Like, I enjoyed his character, but I could not root for their romance because she was just so annoying. I found the like backstage access of the flight world interesting. I thought that was like creative and unique, but Ava was just so annoying. I did finish it, but I would not recommend it. It was a light read. I mean, it was a fun concept, but Ava was just not the girl. So it was a 3 out of 5 for me. Finally, I have The Last Thing That He Told Me. And this is a thriller about our main character, Hannah, whose husband, Owen, goes missing. We find out that his tech company has been involved in an embezzlement scandal, and she's kind of left to pick up the pieces and figure out what happened to Owen, what really happened in this scandal. And Owen has a teenage daughter, Bailey, who she's a stepmom to, and she has to work on her relationship with Bailey to help keep her safe and to try to help her find out the truth as well. I found Hannah to be like practical and clever. Her decisions were smart. I really enjoyed the plot itself. It kept me guessing through most of the story. It was refreshing to feel Hannah's trust in Owen. She really believed that he was innocent and like he wouldn't just leave for no reason. I would have liked to see more of Hannah and Owen's relationship, because I feel like as the reader, you don't trust Owen like Hannah does. It's like you just have to trust that she believes in him. And maybe that was her intention, but I would have liked to see as well, like, oh, we know Owen's a good guy. Like, there's no way something could have happened, you know? He did something bad. And I felt like the overall end of the story was pretty sad for Hannah and Bailey. I wish it could have ended a little bit differently. And we see Bailey's point of view through Hannah's eyes quite a bit in the story, so it would have been nice to see her reaction to the conclusion of the book a little bit more. I felt like that was just kind of brushed over. But all in all, I think it was a really good thriller. I usually have trouble with thrillers because I don't find them to be very clever or deceptive at all, and I really like feeling like I'm guessing until the very end. I like that feeling of anticipation, of trying to figure out what's going to happen next. Where is this going to lead to? So I did really like it at that, and I do want to check out her other book. I think it's Grapes of Wrath. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. If you guys have any other thrillers, if you've read this and you know of any that I might like and you could recommend, I would really appreciate that. But yeah, these are all the books that I read this month. All in all, pretty successful month, really only one flop. And if you have read any of these, let me know. If you want to read any of these based on my review, let me know as well. And if you have any recommendations for me, write me a comment. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.